In 1968, researchers began one of the largest dietary trials ever conducted in the United States. Nearly 9,000 participants, 5 years of data. The explicit goal proved that replacing animal fat with vegetable oil would reduce deaths from heart disease. The co-investigator was the man whose work had become the scientific foundation for that recommendation. The trial found that vegetable oil lowered cholesterol exactly as predicted. It did not reduce deaths. The autopsy data suggested the opposite. That data was not published. It stayed unpublished for 43 years. There are small farms and butchers across the United States, most of them operating without any special permit or exemption, who never stopped producing the fat this trial was designed to replace. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what was done, who built the mechanism that did it, and where you can find the people who kept the original practice alive while the official record said otherwise. In 1850, Iowa had 325,000 hogs and 190,000 people. The ratio was intentional. Fat was not a luxury item. It was infrastructure. Every autumn, families rendered their own lard, applied heat to fatty tissue, separated the fat, cooled it, and sealed it in crocks. No solvents, no industrial machinery, no supply chain. The fat contained vitamins D, E, and conjugated linoleic acid because the animal contained them. No industrial process put them there. None was needed. What that fat produced was a composition of roughly 45% monounsaturated fat, the same class found in olive oil, alongside about 40% saturated fat and just 10% polyunsaturated fat, with a low proportion of the omega-6 fatty acids that now dominate most refined vegetable oils. A 2024 paper in a Nature Publishing Group journal found that lard has a higher smoke point than vegetable oil, meaning it is less likely to break down into oxidized compounds during high-heat cooking. The same paper noted that moderate consumption of lard does not adversely affect glucose or lipid metabolism. By 1909, according to United States Department of Agriculture records analyzed in a 2022 Frontiers in Nutrition paper, the average American had access to 21.2 pounds of animal-based fats per year: butter, lard, tallow. That was the diet Americans had eaten without industrial modification for more than 3 centuries. Then something changed, and the change did not begin with a health authority, a scientific finding, or a public debate. It began with a waste disposal problem. Cotton gins in the American South produced 2 pounds of cottonseed for every pound of cotton lint they separated from the plant. Through most of the 19th century, that seed was considered pollution. It decomposed in heaps. It could not be burned cleanly. Cotton gins dumped it in rivers. The oil inside the seed was dark, foul-smelling, and contained a compound documented in peer-reviewed literature to cause liver damage, reproductive toxicity, and immune suppression in humans who consumed it in unrefined form. The company that would turn this material into America's dominant cooking fat was not a food company. Procter and Gamble manufactured soap and candles. By the 1880s, the electric light bulb was eliminating the candle market. The company needed new uses for the industrial fats it processed. By 1905, Procter and Gamble had acquired 8 cottonseed mills in Mississippi. In 1902, a German chemist named Wilhelm Normann patented a process for converting liquid oils into solid fats by forcing hydrogen into the oil under pressure. Procter and Gamble acquired access to this technology. To make cottonseed oil edible, the process required extraction using a petroleum-derived solvent, treatment with an alkaline solution to remove free fatty acids, bleaching with activated clay to remove pigments and impurities, and high-temperature deodorization to eliminate the rancid odor. After that, partial hydrogenation solidified the oil and gave it a texture that resembled lard. In June 1911, Procter and Gamble placed the result on grocery shelves. The name Crisco comes from the words crystallized cottonseed oil. That winter, they shipped cases to 15,000 retailers across America, according to records from the American Oil Chemists Society. In 1911 alone, they spent $180,000 on advertising. Between 1912 and 1915, approximately $400,000 per year, equivalent to roughly $57 million over 5 years in current dollars. They distributed a cookbook in which all 615 recipes required Crisco. The author also wrote cookbooks for a gelatin company, a baking powder company, and a crab meat company. They paid doctors for testimonials. They paid train lines to cook with Crisco instead of lard. They marketed to Orthodox Jewish communities, correctly noting that Crisco contained neither meat nor dairy. Their own promotional copy named the objective directly: the banishment of that lardy taste in foods. There is today a pronounced partiality from a health standpoint to a vegetable fat. That partiality did not exist before the campaign. Procter and Gamble created it. By 1912, Crisco sales reached 2.6 million pounds. By 1916, 60 million pounds. No regulatory body had banned lard. No peer-reviewed study had established that cottonseed oil was healthier than the fats it replaced. No public health authority had issued a finding against animal fats. Historian Susan Strasser, speaking to National Public Radio in 2007, described Procter and Gamble's strategic logic directly. They decided to develop a product that would use a lot more cottonseed oil so that they could control that market really. A soap company that owned 8 cottonseed mills and a national distribution network had converted its industrial waste into the country's dominant cooking fat in 5 years. Who was meant to establish whether the product they controlled was safe to eat? Crisco, in its original formulation, contained 1.5 grams of trans fatty acids per tablespoon. Trans fatty acids are a byproduct of partial hydrogenation, the process that made liquid cottonseed oil solid enough to substitute for lard. The scientific debate about saturated fat and cardiovascular disease remains genuinely contested, and major health organizations still recommend limiting saturated fat intake. What is not contested? Trans fatty acids, the specific compound created by the hydrogenation process that Crisco pioneered, cause coronary heart disease. In 2006, the New England Journal of Medicine published a review documenting that intake of trans fat is associated with coronary heart disease, sudden death from cardiac causes, and type 2 diabetes. In 2015, the Food and Drug Administration made a final determination that partially hydrogenated oils are no longer generally recognized as safe for any use in human food. The compliance deadline was June 18, 2018. Removing these oils from the food supply is estimated by the FDA to be preventing approximately 90,000 premature deaths per year. Crisco launched in 1911. The mechanism that made it work was banned in 2018. That is 107 years. From 1909 to 2010, per capita availability of animal-based fats in America fell 58%, according to United States Department of Agriculture data. Shortening, the hydrogenated oil category that replaced lard, increased 91%. Margarine availability increased 192%. By 2002, Americans were consuming 32.8 pounds per capita per year of shortening, according to a 2021 paper in the American Journal of Public Health. And the trial that was meant to prove all of it was justified. Nearly 9,000 participants in Minnesota, 1968 to 1973, the most rigorous design available in clinical research. It replaced saturated fat in participants' diets with corn oil and corn oil margarine to test the foundational claim: lower saturated fat, lower cholesterol, fewer deaths from heart disease. The co-investigator was Ancel Keys, the researcher whose 7-country study had become the primary scientific basis for recommending that Americans replace animal fats with vegetable oils. The trial lowered cholesterol in the intervention group exactly as predicted. It did not reduce deaths from heart disease. It did not reduce deaths from any cause. The autopsy findings were never published as part of the original study. When researchers recovered the data and published their analysis in the British Medical Journal in April 2016, their conclusion was precise. Incomplete publication has contributed to overestimation of the benefits of replacing saturated fat with vegetable oils rich in linoleic acid. The study concluded in 1973. It was published partially in 1989. The complete analysis appeared in 2016. The fat that was replaced did not contain trans fat. The fat that replaced it did. It is before dawn. The house is cold except for the kitchen. Your great-grandmother is at the stove. There is one pan, cast iron, heavy enough that she lifts it with both hands. On the shelf above the stove is a ceramic crock with a fitted lid. Inside, white fat rendered from the pig they kept, smooth and dense and faintly ivory-colored. She spoons fat into the pan. It melts slowly and evenly without smoking. The kitchen smells of something old and particular, not unpleasant, just unmistakable. She cracks eggs into the fat. The whites set immediately at the edges. The yolks stay dark orange. She has cooked this way for 40 years. Her mother cooked this way before that. The crock of fat on the shelf has been replenished every autumn since she can remember, from the same animal, the same rendering pot, the same cloth strainer. No label, no patent, no supply chain. 3 years from now, a white tin will appear on the shelf at the general store. The tin will say "Scientific Discovery" on the side. The man who made it also makes soap. Every recipe she has ever cooked tells her the crock works. That will not be enough. Inheritance. The displacement was commercial, not regulatory. No law banned lard. No federal agency restricted beef tallow. The path back requires no petition, no exemption, no permit of any kind. The Weston A. Price Foundation has maintained chapters across the United States for decades, documenting traditional fat practices and connecting consumers directly with farms that never abandoned them. The Seed Oil Free Certified organization now operates a certification program for restaurants and food products that have removed industrial seed oils from their supply chains, responding to measurable consumer demand. At farmers' markets in every region of the country, small producers sell pastured leaf lard, the highest quality fat from the kidney cavity of pigs raised outdoors on varied forage, to customers who found them simply by asking. Pastured lard from animals raised outdoors with access to sunlight contains measurably higher levels of naturally occurring vitamin D than conventionally raised lard. The production method has not changed in 3 centuries. To start, find pastured pork fat from a local farm or specialty butcher. Ask for leaf lard or back fat. Cut it into small pieces. Place it in a heavy-bottomed pot over low heat. Stir occasionally. Over 1 to 2 hours, the fat melts and the solid tissue separates to the bottom. Strain through fine cloth into a glass jar. Cool it, seal it, store it in the refrigerator for up to a year or in the freezer indefinitely. No solvent extraction, no bleaching, no deodorization, no hydrogenation, no patent required. What you have in that jar is what American families had on their shelf for 3 centuries before a soap company decided its waste had more value as food. What replaced the fat Americans ate for centuries was banned 107 years later for causing the deaths it was marketed to prevent. The original was never proven dangerous. It was made unfashionable. 10 years from now, the labels will have changed again. The health claims on the packaging will be different. The ingredient list will have shifted to whatever replaced the replacement. You will have a jar on your shelf. You will know exactly what is in it because you watched it come from an animal and melt in a pot. No corporation between you and your kitchen. If this opens something for you, if you can picture that jar and understand exactly how it was taken out of your family's kitchen, subscribe so you do not miss the next system we uncover. Every video on this channel follows the same investigation. Find what was displaced, find who profited, and follow the documents until the picture is complete. Share this with someone who is still buying the replacement and does not know the original was never proven dangerous.